We have had the opportunity over the years here along the shores of Lake Washington to show you some of the greatest boat racers and meet some of the most wonderful people that we have had an opportunity to do over the years. Right at this moment, we want to take a couple of minutes to acknowledge some of those folks who've passed on in the last year. They meant a great deal to us as friends, as family members, and as co-workers, and also in this community that we know as great drivers and great members of this boating community. And Chip, you knew these folks, and we've got Mike and Pat are joining us as well from the start-finish line. So I'll start with you, Michael. You're the one who kind of knows all these people from way back. Why don't you get us started on some of the folks we want to remember who've passed on?
Well, we lost a great driving champion and a great Gold Cup champion, Terry Troxell, this year. Terry Troxell, as they called him, was he was an intrepid driver, a great boat racer in the small classes as well as the unlimited classes. He was just a great spokesman for the sport, a leave no quarter kind of a driver, the kind of driver that just made our sport. It was a sad thing to have to lose him. He had a heart attack earlier and came even back to driving after a stroke, and then we lost him just a few months back. So we salute Terry Troxell, and his memory will always be with us on Seafair.
And then there are those guys that died at the wheel to keep this sport alive. There was Bill Munsey and Dean Chenoweth. I think of Jerry Bangs, who died on a Sunday just like this, giving their most and to keep this sport. And they, in a sense, are present here today. They're present and accounted for as the sport grows. Much safer now, but there were times when it was so hazardous, and they came out and gave it their all.
And also this year we lost Bob Schroeder, who folks will remember back in the 50s and 60s was a great driver. Also, the Wild Root Charlie comes to mind as one of the boats that he drove. And the great Bill O'Mara, who called so many of the races in the 1950s, passed away just a few months ago up in Anacortes. And as you know, Pat, Bill was calling football into his 9th decade.
I'd stop in Anacortes and see him. He was 90 years old, still doing play-by-play football, and having the time of his life.
I want to bring Chip in here if I can to talk a little bit about Terry Troxell. You knew Terry. These are tough things, and these are good friends.
I always felt guilty about Terry because I think he enjoyed it way more than I did, and I was lucky enough to have maybe a bit more success than Terry did. But nobody enjoyed getting into a boat and driving it more than Terry Troxell, whether he won or he lost. And he won a lot, and he drove really aggressively. I think we had a name for him. It escapes me what it was. But he just loved to drive a boat.
Troxilla.
There you go.
You know, Chip, may I add something? My daughter was about 12 years old when, walking through the pits, Terry grabbed her and put her in the cockpit of his boat. And then each year he would grab her, and he finally made her a crew person on the U-13. And that's the way he was with all of the kids around the pits. And he's loved by every one of the pits. There's little boats with his name on it down there. And Terry, we'll miss you.